Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is our Village of Council, Forest Park regular council meeting. It's Monday, the 27th, 2026. We begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you're able, please rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Here.
Here? Here?
Here. All right, Commissioners, we need to approve the minutes from the April 13th regular council meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Maxam. Is there a second? It's been seconded by Commissioner Nero. Discussion? Okay, there's no discussion. Madam Clerk?
Aye.
Commissioner Miller-Rebecca,
Abstain?
Commissioner Ball,
Aye.
Mayor Hawkins.
Aye. All right. We're at public comment.
Okay, we have a lot of speakers tonight and we have some write-ins of folks who are not here. So our first speaker is David Hudson.
Good evening. I'm Dave Hudson, an owner occupant and Airbnb host and resident here in Forest Park. I'm here to speak against the proposed ordinances that people have been bringing up against short-term rentals. I want to share a quote from our most recent guest. She wrote, "We went out Friday night to the little downtown area of Forest Park, and I had one of the best smash burgers ever. It was called Robert's West Side." Well, that's what our guests do. They eat at our restaurants, and they shop in our stores, and they go home talking about Forest Park. Second, on the 30-day minimum that's been proposed, it does not just put hosts like us out of business. Our average is about 3-day rentals. It works against the neighbors, quite possibly, because then you're not just stuck with a rowdy guest for a couple of days. You could have a guest there for 30 days or more. So it's not a great argument against about pushing that limit. Oh, now there I am. Third, we searched the public record for other short-term rental complaints in Forest Park, and there are none. Every news article, every council reference, every neighbor complaint traces back to one address. Forest Park is being asked to write a category-wide ordinance on the basis of a single property. There are roughly, if you look at look on the web and look at different sites, there are roughly 90 Airbnb units in our village, and they run the full range. Single room rentals, units like ours where we live on site and we rent out our upper floor. And then there's also full houses where the owner is off site. Those are very different operations, and it certainly doesn't make sense to have one blanket rule because one place, it's all different categories. To close, hundreds of guests have stayed with us with zero complaints from our neighbors. Hosting has actually pushed us to keep improving our property so every guest has the best possible experience. In conclusion, the benefits of Airbnb to our town come out to be patrons at local businesses and improved properties. It doesn't make sense to write an ordinance against something that enriches our town. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Next, we have Jeff Benz-Calvi.
Hello. I'm speaking about the Airbnb proposed ordinance, that whatever it may be. My wife Amy and I have a very successful Airbnb here on our property in Forest Park for the last few years. And like the great majority of Airbnbs in Forest Park, we have never had a problem with guests or neighbors or any kind of conflict. And I think it's because we do a few simple things to vet our guests before they're allowed to book. You check their ratings and reviews, you ask a few questions to make sure that it's not a party crowd, and you turn them down if it looks like they are. As far as restricting Airbnbs from a zone 500 feet away from schools or parks, this seems excessive and ineffective, and it feels like a blanket strategy just to shut down one troublesome Airbnb. Airbnb already does some background checks on some guests, and state law still protects us over and above that. If a felon is banned from being near schools and playgrounds, just booking an Airbnb doesn't give them a pass. State law still stands. And the village has other things in the toolbox that haven't been used yet. A property can be declared a nuisance property if the neighbors complain. I believe it only takes 6 calls within 6 months. So rather than change and regulate all of these small businesses that have not been a problem, let's focus on the one property that is a problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Next, we have Amy Benz Calvin. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Amy. The Jeff just introduced me. Same thing. I want to speak just in support of well-managed Airbnbs. I do not want to diminish the problems that the one resident is having with the one that's out of control. And I'm deeply discouraged that Airbnb hasn't been a resource, because you can report bad owners to Airbnb. They're supposed to be able to suspend their ability to be listed on the website if they are in fact Airbnb. They might be a VRBO. But I also wanted to second what Dave said. All of our guests talk about the restaurants in Forest Park. And also, I think the other benefit to a short-term rental in Forest Park is there aren't a lot of hotel availabilities in our area. And so we have a lot of guests not only are coming to visit family in Forest Park, we've had guests come because there's renovations happening in their homes in Forest Park. And so we're a nice resource for our neighbors. So again, we've been very fortunate. We've never had to worry about our guests misbehaving or have any of our neighbors complain. So I hope if you're looking at changing the rules for Airbnbs, you keep that in mind. Thanks.
Thank you, Amy.
Next, we have Jennifer Wolf.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Wolf. I live at 908 Beloit, and I'm speaking to you as a resident of Forest Park of 28 years to express my concerns regarding the proposed 30-day minimum stay requirement for short-term rentals. I understand that there was a complaint about too many people on one property at 908 Lathrop. If the landlord was responsible, this probably would not have happened. Airbnb has codified into effect no parties or loud music across their entire platform globally. We have security cameras on the outside of our property to make sure that we know who is coming and going into our homes. The STR community knows the importance of maintaining a clean and safe environment for ourselves and our neighbors. I have hosted short-term guests for over 10 years, and I want you to know it has been a wonderful experience. I've met people from all over the world and the United States. Guests stay at my home to see family, celebrate birthdays and holidays, christenings. They come to see theater productions, concerts, try new restaurants. They visit loved ones in the hospital and attend memorial services. There's many reasons travelers pick Forest Park, and that is close proximity to the suburbs and to the city of Chicago. These stays translate into money into the pockets of our local business owners as they navigate around our small town charmed business district. My typical stay is a 2-day minimum, and I do this for flexibility on the people traveling. There are no hotels here in town, and the unique character of a homestay rivals and outweighs a hotel stay, which usually means limited personal touches. And when do you stay for 30 days when you go on vacation? These stays translate into money into the pockets of our local business owners as they navigate around our small town. We have to take care of our properties as we are rated on a 5-point criteria: cleanliness, accuracy, check-in, communication, location, and value. This usually means that Airbnbs are more well-maintained for better ratings, therefore better properties. If there was a three strikes and you were out rule, perhaps that may satisfy the person complaining about an unruly property. I also wanted you to know, this was pretty alarming when I added it up. In 28 years of residency, I paid $182,000 in property taxes, and Airbnb submitted $40,544 in occupancy tax in addition to my property tax. I have no children, and I still paid almost half of my tax bill to the school district. When I had a dog, I could not even walk her in the park. A few years ago, I photographed some young kids bouncing a soccer ball on their knee with the locked Park District soccer field with no one on it in the background, as they were not allowed to use it.
Jennifer, generally we have a 3-minute limit.
Okay. I do not ask for much, and I do give a lot. Please consider this when making your decision. And thank you for your dedication to Forest Park.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Next, we have Uli.
Thank you very much. My name is Uli Lieb. My husband, Rich, and I have lived in Forest Park since the 1990s. I only attended one village council meeting before, so just a little bit trying for me. So please, please bear with me. We live on the 500 block of Beloit, and the reason why I'm here is that my husband and I have had a short-term rental for over 20 years. That's long before there was such a thing as Airbnb. And I knew from my work experience, I used to work in corporate relocation, that there was a need for short-term furnished apartments. A lot of big companies transfer people from one place to another, their employees, and they usually offset the costs. And so they pay for many things related to that move. And one is up to 60 days of living in a short-term furnished apartment. So they have time to find a new home, a permanent home. And so I knew there was that need. But then in addition, over the years, we found out there are so many other people that need that kind of housing. So already came up, there's neighbors that remodeled their home. With the hospital close by, we have a lot of residents and interns that come in on rotations, traveling nurses. We've had professors that come and visit for just one semester. A lot of former residents who have moved south, and then in the summer it's too hot in Florida, so they come up here, and they also visit friends and family while they're here. And others with friends and family in the area. We had a local college professor who figured out it was cheaper to have their parents come in for a semester to take care of her newborn than take her to daycare. So and then they came back 2 years later when their second granddaughter was born and stayed with us for 4 months again. So we have lots of people that keep coming back. And my point is that, I feel very bad for the people that live around that one property on Lathrop. It sounds really terrible, but not all short-term rentals are party houses, and ours is far from it. Our typical tenants is, it does not come for a weekend with a bunch of friends. They come for weeks or months at a time, and they do spend money at our local businesses. We have one guy from Germany who ended up buying a condo in town because he liked Forest Park so much. So, and then also, like everybody else said, we spend lots of time and money fixing up and keeping up our property to keep people coming back and to attract new people as well. So I think we have codes and regulations in place that could maybe be used. There is even a more, don't know if more regulation addressing would be needed, but there is our neighbors to the east have something like that, if it was really be needed, if it was really needed. But either way, I think addressing properties, the one property that's causing a problem or
Really?
properties that are causing problems,
Can you-
rather than all would be probably the best way to go, because it's still asset to our town. Thanks.
Okay, Thomas Kovac or Koval, I can't tell if that's an L or a C. Okay.
I'm here to speak about the proposal to establish a $5 million special area that is currently occupied by the lumberyard that is scheduled to go out of business after 80 years here. I'm neither for or against it. Just need information as to what this is all about. Why 5 million, and what is the concept to be done with the current land site owned by the lumberyard? And the reason I ask is I've had two very divergent experiences with large land uses. One is the SBC garbage removal folks who've done a brilliant job. They properly shielded their operation from the residential area across the street. So the area across the street is R3, densely populated. They're in an I1, which has all kinds of severe restrictions. Sometimes they're just not enforced. You're supposed to have all your operations inside of an enclosed building, technically. Where I live, I have a problem with Farmington Foods. They've, the increase in size, you've read about these data farms, right? You know, the water and the electricity usage. Let me run a couple numbers by you on Farmington Foods. When they proposed to have a PUD and have an addition built to their cooking building, in year 2010, they had 3.3 million gallons of water use. Last year, I'm getting this data for the MWRD water regulator. Last year, 2025, they had 13.2 million gallons. You get a huge increase. They have a thing called suspended solids that are in the water. Well, what's happened there? They went from about 8 million to 62 million of thousands of pounds. They had another thing called biodynamic oxygen demand. They went from, it's measured in pounds. It went from 23,000 up to 305,000. Let's look at their electricity use. Electricity use, they have two buildings, a cooking building and a processing building. The cooking building went from 400 amperage, I say amps, up to 2,400. The other building went from 800 up to 4,800 amperage. Why? Because they have all this rooftop equipment, cooling, generating and cooling. They are under very strict temperature control requirements by the USDA Food Safety Inspection Service. So it's been, and they refuse to put any barrier. This council approved them to have a decorative ornamental black iron fence, the kind you see in a rich neighborhood in Chicago, you know, the fancy black iron ones. That's what they have as a fence. There's no barrier. All over the west side, including SBC, we see effective sound barriers. Not that expensive a wall. You have a metal frame and you have these synthetic plates that effectively have a sight.
Mr. Kovac, you're at 3 minutes, so you need to kind of finish your thought, please.
Please tell me what's going on the 5 million. The 5 million, what's going to happen to the lumberyard? Currently, there's a wall there that protects the townhouses to the west of the lumberyard that will no longer be protected if the lumberyard buildings are torn down. Okay?
Thank you.
Next, we have Samantha Blaga.
Mic drop. All right. Hello again. I understand there has been progress on my short-term rental issues, but I'm here to drive it home again. My proposal is simple: forbidding short-term rentals within 500 feet of a school, to not be a short-term rental, a signed lease for 30+ days. This reinforces an already established state-recognized safety perimeter surrounding schools, reduces transient occupancy immediately adjacent to schools, where temporary lodging creates less predictability, accountability than traditional residential uses. And it preserves the residential character and stability of neighborhoods surrounding educational facilities. Do not allow exceptions, because where there are exceptions, there are loopholes. Follow in the path of our nearby neighbors who are not home rule and have paved the path for us. For those areas outside the 500 feet zone, I understand the village is facing financial challenges. That is why it makes little sense to allow over 100 short-term rentals to operate in Forest Park without ensuring the community receives meaningful value in return. You just heard how successful they are. You need an income? Well, you found it. If the village cannot find a way to properly regulate and generate revenue from short-term rentals operating outside the proposed 500 feet school buffer, then those uses should not be permitted to operate here. At the recent zoning meeting, there was concern about outside developers coming into Forest Park. But what they didn't realize is the LLCs operating short-term rentals have already descended, profiting thousands and thousands a month in total revenue. We are a business, as stated by the owner of the short-term rental on WGN News. If residents are required to obtain permits and pay fees to build a fence, then businesses using residential properties for short-term rentals should absolutely be required to obtain a permit and pay substantial fees as well. Those permanent fees should reflect the business profitability and the impact the operations have on the village. It is also important to recognize that these properties are ultimately better suited as long-term residential occupancies. A home or apartment is more valuable to the community when it is leased to a resident who is invested in Forest Park, someone who may enroll their children in a school or even pay for a pool pass, not just take an Uber to the city. Short-term occupancy does not create the same level of community or connection or long-term investment. Lastly, I want to express my support for the zoning improvements under consideration. Surrounding communities have modernized their ordinances while Forest Park has fallen behind. We cannot allow fear of change to prevent progress. Doing nothing is not a strategy. Doing nothing only guarantees we remain behind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have several write-ins. So I'm not sure if the people are here or not. So I'll call the next person, Catherine Gaze. Is Catherine Gaze here? Okay, I'll read her comments. My name is Catherine Gaze. I am a resident of Oak Park and faculty member at Elmhurst University, and wanted to write in support of short-term rentals in Forest Park. Our family rented from Uli Lieb and her husband in 2009 and 10 for 10 months, and again in 2012 for the full year. We rented the unit so that my parents, who were retired but living in Rhode Island, could be in the area to help take care of our daughters as I went back to work. It was a similar cost for us to pay this rental as it would have been for infant daycare. I'm so grateful that we had the time with my parents close by and that they were able to play such an important role for our girls. In the case of this specific rental, Uli and her husband live on site and are readily available should any issues arise. I frequently see requests on local Facebook groups for families looking for short-term rentals, either for visiting family or for their own family during a renovation, when being able to be close to school community is important. Forest Park is also an ideal location for medical students and residents or others needing to be in Chicago for a specific time, with easy public transportation and a great community, including great restaurants and shopping. I would hate to see short-term rental options limited due to concerns with one particular landlord. Next, we have, is there a Bradley Lane here? No, okay. This is a statement to the Village Council, who I understand is considering the matter of short-term rentals in the Forest Park on April 27th, 2026. My wife and I discovered Forest Park about 4 years ago when we needed a place to stay temporarily after selling our family home in Western Springs. We were fortunate to arrange a short-term rental with Rich and Uli Lee, longtime residents of Forest Park. While we stayed in Forest Park, we finalized moving our things to a new home in Florida, and I retired from my full-time law practice in Chicago. We also learned more about the wonderful Forest Park community during our stay and have fallen in love with it. Consequently, every year we arrange for a 2-week, 2-month spring and fall stay at the same short-term rental. I have continued my law practice in semi-retirement mode by providing pro bono legal services, and my wife continues coordinating a church rummage sale in the western suburbs, among other things in the Chicago area. After work, we look forward to coming home to Forest Park. At least one night a week, and on Friday and weekends, we dine at Forest Park restaurants on Madison Street, as well as drink and dine at several taverns there. We enjoy shopping for baked goods, hardware, and curios on Madison Street. Forest Park is such a nice place to live. As a short-term renter, we prefer to walk to local establishments, and we are not the only short-term renters who do so. If short-term rentals are banned or substantially constrained in Forest Park, we would unfortunately have to look elsewhere to live and spend our money. Without short-term rental dollars in the local economy, I doubt the range and quality of local businesses would exist, to the detriment of not only short-term residents, but also long-term residents and property owners. I'm hopeful the Village Council considers input from all members of the community, including short-term residents such as us, and concludes a ban or constraint on short-term rentals is not in the best interests of all members of the community, and any problematic particular short-term situation can be addressed by vigilant enforcement of existing ordinances and/or codes. Next, is there I don't think she's here, Dr. Wendy Berlabi? No, okay. I am writing to express my gratitude to be able to stay at an Airbnb in the 500 block of Beloit 2 years ago. I am an Oak Park resident and my house was being remodeled. My twins and I needed a place to stay for 7 months, and I needed to be close to their school and activities. I was over the moon when I found this Airbnb on Beloit. The neighborhood was wonderful. The owner was amazing. It was very safe for my twins and I. We still talk about our stay in that house during those times when our house was being remodeled. Since then, I have referred several of my friends to this Airbnb as their houses were being remodeled. In addition, I still stay connected to the owner. Please know that this is a service that I'm very grateful, and I know that others are as well in our community. Sanja Popovic Spinelli? Nope. I was a long-term owner at 540 Hannah Avenue in Forest Park and sold my property in 2015. Since I moved out of the country and occasionally returned to the area in order to visit with my son, grandson, and friends, I was at a loss where to stay during my visits. Luckily, I was able to find a wonderful apartment at 813 Beloit with great hosts, Uli and Rich Lee. I stayed with them quite a few times and really found a home away from home. The place is immaculate, clean, with all necessary amenities. Uli and Rich are kind, always ready to help, give advice, and generally exceptional hosts. I intend to stay with them during my future visits. Cynthia DeCrue? No. I write as one who frequently stays in Airbnbs in Forest Park, most recently this March. Forest Park, of course, is a great place to stay anyway. Its easy proximity to the Loop in downtown Chicago with all its attractions as well as the west suburbs makes it an ideal location for not only business travelers, but also for those just seeking to explore greater Chicagoland. But why an Airbnb and what value do places add? From my experience, Airbnb travelers tend to stay a little longer and perhaps spend a little more money in the area. I know that I do. The fine dining establishments in Chicago, notwithstanding the Fat Duck, New Rebozo, and the Madison Street Kitchen are some of my favorites. And since I am likely staying longer than a night or two, a good bottle of wine from Famous Liquors is a must-have since Forest Park is very walkable. Village officials shouldn't worry about my driving under the influence after the trip to Famous Liquors. Airbnbs also offer travelers a better sense of the community and its people. Staying in a big name chain hotel or motel with their cookie cutter rooms, bland coffee, and limited space to just sit down and relax after a long day doesn't really encourage any sort of conversation with the surrounding community. What better way to get away from our screens and see what the rest of the world is up to? Kirsten Murchison? No. Dear members of the Village Board, I am writing to share a personal perspective on why short-term rentals like Airbnb are so important to families like mine. My husband and I live in Texas, and our daughter and her family live in Oak Park. We want to spend as much time as possible with our grandson, so a few times a year, we travel here to visit. We stay several weeks at a time and need a place to cook meals, do laundry, work remotely, and live comfortably. Without short-term rentals, these long visits with our family would simply not be possible. There are no convenient hotels nearby that could accommodate a stay of that length comfortably or affordably. We are so appreciative that there are Airbnbs in the area that accommodate us and are located close to our family. During our stays, we are not just a visitor passing through. We contribute to the economy because we shop at local grocery stores, eat at local restaurants, and support local businesses in ways that a 1 or 2 night hotel guest never could. Please consider family situations like ours when weighing this issue. Short-term rentals are not just a convenience. For some of us, they are the only way to maintain meaningful family connections across long distances. Gemma Fleming. I am writing in support for responsible Airbnb in Forest Park area. I have been coming from Ireland for the last number of years and usually stay about 2 months as my daughter lives in Chicago and works in one of the hospitals. I really look forward to going there, and my host I stay with could not be more helpful to me. I'm sure not all Airbnbs cause trouble. The majority of them are very responsible people. I'm giving my full support for Airbnb short-term to stay. I know I would miss it terribly if it was stopped. Just deal with the Airbnb that are causing trouble in the neighborhood. Okay. Just a few more. Is Karen Rosmus here? No. I have been reading about the complaints regarding an Airbnb property located in Forest Park. The paper has reported that there have been concerns about noise and parking issues resulting in calls to police and public comments to the village council. I believe that there are many responsible owners who provide short-term rentals to those who need such accommodation. This brings me to my neighbors, Jeremy and Jordan Borscher on Monroe Street. They have been operating such properties in Forest Park since 2016 with one of their locations next door to me on Monroe Street. Jeremy and Jordan should be the model for such properties. Over the last 10 years, I have visited friends and family members who have stayed with them on many occasions. Their units are clean and extremely well organized, providing local information, parking regulations, trash and recycling rules, Wi-Fi login, etc. I've never had an issue with any tenant that they have had rent this apartment, and I have cousins who have stayed there who have stayed in other locations they operate. Not only are Jeremy and Jordan good rental property managers, they are ideal neighbors. If the village is considering regulating short-term rental properties, I would suggest a licensing program that can be closely monitored. Laws are only as good as enforcement measures. Current laws to address parking, noise, and public nuisance issues should be enforced consistently to address specific problems. I would also suggest that the village consider input from responsible property owners who have not presented problems. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on this issue. Christy Bunn. My name is Christy Bunn and I live in Connecticut. My daughter and son-in-law own a townhouse on Franklin Street in Forest Park. Over time, we have watched the property at 7215 Franklin Street change ownership and become transformed from a neglected building into charming, well-cared for Airbnb property. I had the opportunity to meet owners Jordan and Jeremy and their son one day when they were checking up on the property. They were very friendly and allowed me to take a peek at their Airbnb. It was easy to see that they have poured a lot of time, energy, and love into their rental investment. I was so impressed with them and their Airbnb that I am now their happy repeat customer. I am thrilled that there is a high-quality, updated Airbnb option in Forest Park, which allows me to visit family that is in walking distance to so many great restaurants, retailers, and things to do. Okay, last one. Margaret Pretchell, no. I have heard recently that there is a concern about rental properties in Forest Park. I completely understand that some sites are causing problems in their neighborhoods, but I do want to express how grateful I was to find a place to stay in Forest Park many years ago when I had to leave my Oak Park home after fire damage. I was lucky enough to find Vienna Suites on Beloit Avenue. It was a wonderful accommodation and perfect for me. This rental provided everything I needed for a long stay while my house underwent a major rebuild, a fully furnished kitchen, TV, phone, and internet services. The owners live on site. They beautifully maintained the interior and exterior of the property. I can't imagine this property to be anything other than a resource that Forest Park should be proud of. I hope the village will take into consideration the differences between different types of rentals to be able to regulate the problems while maintaining the integrity of the many other rental resources.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That was great. All right, Commissioners, moving on. We have no formal communications in front of us tonight. There are no department reports. So, Madam Clerk, if you want to take a drink of water
Yeah.
before you go on to bills by resolution.
Thank you. Be it resolved by the Council of the Village of Forest Park, Cook County, Illinois, that we dispense with the reading of the individual bills inasmuch as each department head has approved and signed bills in the following aggregate amount for their respective departments. Refunds and allocations, $6,679.24. Public Affairs, $19,175.11. Police Department, $8,995.85. Community Center, $2,974.19. Accounts and Finance, the Clerk's Office, $200,911.67. Accounts and Finance, the Fire Department, $6,348.41. Department of Health and Safety, $16,950.10. Streets and Public Improvements, $35,460.01. Public Property, $36,098.98. Seizure, $2,530. Federal Customs, $7,124.99. TIF, $24,700 $1,131.25. VIP, $13,226.58. Water Department, $271,743.63 for a total of $652,950.01.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioners, is there a motion to adopt the resolution on the bills?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Maxam. Is there a second?
Yes, sir. Nero, second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Nero. Madam Clerk, if you-
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Millen Rogovin,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt,
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
aye. All right, Commissioners, there's no unfinished business before us tonight. So moving on to new business. The first item is an ordinance waiving the bid and authorizing the acceptance of a Avigilon surveillance system proposal submitted by Griffin Systems. This is for the purchase and installation of license plate readers and cameras. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Maxam. Is there a second? Okay, it's been seconded by Commissioner Nero. Discussion? All right, there is no discussion. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Maxim, Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Mellon Rogovin,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt,
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye.
This is ordinance 10-26.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioners, next item is a resolution approving and authorizing a 6B classification for 7526 Industrial Drive. And the applicant is Endomi Capital LLC. Is there a motion?
I will make the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Maxam. Is there a second?
Nero will second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Nero. Discussion? Commissioner Maxam.
Yeah, I have a couple comments about this, and some of my comments actually tie into the next agenda item as well, so they are going to apply to both. Tonight, we're being asked to approve two different items that are not really related. One of them is the 6B property tax classification, and the other is a TIF reimbursement resolution. And both of these are legitimate and proven economic development tools. And I want to make it clear that I'm not opposed to TIFs or 6B classifications in general, nor am I opposed to these specific ones, and I plan to vote to approve both. So I want to make that clear from the outset. But I just want to make a couple things clear and ask that in the future we be given a little more context when we're given requests like this. The challenge for Forest Park specifically, and right now in particular, is that both these mechanisms, right, TIFs and the 6B classification, they work by reducing property tax revenue in the short term in exchange for hoped for and not always certain, but kind of certain, we're not sure, long-term benefits. And this is very useful. The trade-off is tolerable and even smart in many, many cases, especially when a municipality is on solid financial footing, but we are not on solid financial footing. And still, I'm not voting against these. I just am asking for more context next time. Because our police and fire pension funds are severely underfunded, and I'm going to talk about this more in my commissioner report later, and we need to reach a certain amount of funding in 14 years. That's really not that far away. And when we start trading off the money that we could be getting right now in property taxes to put towards the pensions for a future amount that we think and hope we're going to get, it becomes a little bit scary. And I think we need to have a better analysis done internally on what that looks like and why we should be supporting these things now. I've never seen that done. I've never seen the TIFs and, these tax 6B property taxes
and the lack of revenue in the general fund. I've never seen these things tied together into one picture that we can look at and say, you know, yes, this is definitely the right thing that we have to do, and we should be doing this now. And I think for me, that's the real big piece that's missing. And we don't have that in front of us, you know, and even when I asked, and I'm not saying this to throw anyone under the bus, I'm just trying to be honest, you know. I asked tonight, I said, hey, you know, can I have some information about the current 6Bs that we have? How are they doing? Are any of them finished? What did the difference in, you know, property tax look like after the 12 years were up? Are they doing the annual reporting they're supposed to be doing? Have they created the jobs they're supposed to be creating, et cetera, et cetera? And I was told that would be a really big report that staff would have to put together. And it really bothered me that we don't have that we should have that. We should be doing better. We should know exactly what it is that we're signing up to do when we sign up to do something. So again, I want to make it really clear, I support this. This is a really good mechanism we have to offer incentives when we don't have, you know, other resources to offer them, as is the, you know, TIFs. Obviously, you know, these are generally speaking really good things. I'm just asking, and I want on the record that going forward, I want there to be better analysis and a better picture painted of why these things are necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Maxim. Commissioners, any other comments or questions? Commissioner Vogt.
First, I'll agree with some of what Commissioner Maxim said. This is something where I would have liked a little bit more time with this and would have appreciated, you know, I only saw the application like an hour before this meeting. So I have a lot of questions. I want to do my due diligence to make sure that I'm making the best, you know, decisions for our village. So I agree. I would like to see more information and have more time with it so that I can be as informed as possible. And I am a little frustrated as well with the state of our finances. And we kind of get backed into this fear-based decision-making situation where, well, we need the money so bad, let's take 10% tax revenue instead of 25% for 10 years. And then it, you know, slowly adjusts it. So it's a reduced rate for 13 years. We're locking into that. And it's a little unfortunate because you feel like, let's get the money now because we need it. So I share some of your frustrations there. But I also understand that we want to bring business and we want to bring, you know, good business that wants to be a partner with the community. So I do have a few questions for you guys or for your representative. But I am curious, how long has that location been vacant?
So the vacant location has technically been vacant since January, but it has been chronically underutilized and has been deteriorating since July of last year. The previous occupant kind of left it in a state of disrepair and then didn't really pay the rent. So the dock doors don't really work, and the windows are kind of replaced with wooden substitutes. And there was also a recent incident with some unauthorized personnel kind of living on the property. So to answer your question, shortly, it has been kind of underutilized since July of last year. And although the vacancy is not more than 12 months, I think what we're trying to do here is kind of nip it in the bud and trying to prevent kind of a long-term vacancy that would cause vacancy relief to be filed. And we want, there's an opportunity for someone to come in and not only invest in it, but have an occupant. So, yes.
And when did you acquire the property?
The property is still under contract.
Mm-hmm. When do you close? Okay. And then it said that there will be roughly 10 to 15 employees at the facility. Are those new jobs or are those existing jobs that will move there?
Those are jobs that we anticipate that we're going to create as new if we're able to execute our capital improvement plans. Without the capital improvement plan being approved and executed, those jobs won't come. So it's heavily reliant on our ability to make this capital investment. And I would say that the 6B approval is what makes that viable for us and possible. Otherwise, it would make it very difficult.
And would you commit to doing a local job outreach or job fair?
DJ Romano, he's my partner. My name is Patrick Walsh. This is my son, Sean Walsh. DJ grew up in River Forest. I grew up in Oak Park. We're all Fenwick graduates. We're thrilled to make Forest Park our long-term home. This area means a lot to all three of us as the leaders of this business. So there's a special incentive for us to come to Forest Park just because this was our home for a long time. And obviously right next to Forest Park, I spent a lot of time in Forest Park. I coach at Fenwick basketball. And so I'm here, I'm coming through Forest Park on a daily basis. All of our loans are with Forest Park Bank. Danny Watts has been a tremendous friend and confident and supportive of our business. Sean is 24 years old. He's our succession plan going forward when we step out. So in terms of us coming to Forest Park, this is a long-term 50-year type of investment that we're making, which that's a little staggering, but we're a small family-owned business that we plan on Sean running for a long time after we're no longer running it. So we're here to be good partners. We're not asking for a gift that reduces our exposure and our commitment to the village. What we're asking for a partnership that only emboldens that and makes it even more visible and more concrete, so that in terms of the real financial impact of what we're looking to do, we're in the food and beverage distribution business, and we're looking to put somewhere between 850 and 1.2 million into the building, if that can be done. And the 6B approval is heavily weighing on that initiative. That's what would make it viable for us. We would be thrilled to be able to do that. In terms of Forest Park, we already have 3 Forest Park residents that work with us. One of them is a child of Forest Park resident and just moved out, so technically he's in Chicago. But we're a Forest Park family in a sense, and that's something that means a lot to us.
Thank you. One final question. How many deliveries do you anticipate going through the facility on a daily basis?
Well, currently we deliver about anywhere between 150 and 200 deliveries a day. 80% of our business is in the city of Chicago. But the real impact of what we're doing, right now we rent a facility in Wooddale, which is about 5 miles west of O'Hare. But what we do is we distribute meat, fresh squeezed juice, wine. And so the closer we come to Forest Park, our impact of our business can be felt directly, in that we'll be selling our products at a wholesale basis to, like, our friend Jimmy Watts, who owns a restaurant bar in Forest Park. The closer we are to the neighborhood, those are tax dollars that come right into the neighborhood. And then we tend to sell to the businesses that are within a close range. We're not going outside of Illinois. We work within a 15 to 30 mile radius of where we're located.
Okay.
So there's the dollars that we would potentially put in to our facility in Forest Park are going to come right back into the community because we're in the food and beverage industry.
Okay. And so in terms of also traffic. Okay.
Right. No, we don't.
It was a helpful answer as well, but yeah, I was.
Traded their box trucks, so we don't own any trucks larger than 16 feet in length.
And it's a fleet of, you said 6.
We have a few more. We're right now we're at about 10,
Okay.
10 vehicles. We're not looking to become a huge big company. We're good where we are. We're just looking to be great. And that's it. So there's no expansion plans beyond where we are right now, other than being able to service more customers. But we would, in terms of the footprint of what we're adding, that wouldn't be significant from a truck standpoint. But from inside, if we can create what we're looking to do, it's gonna create 8, 10, 12 jobs. They would come from this area.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, my question was basically, what was the facility used before and how long was it vacant? I think, so it was answered, and some of the questions that I was going to ask was based on that. And then the jobs and commitment to the community. So I was going there, and I think our responsibility is, it's as commissioners and as a village board, we're making decisions with, we don't have perfect information. And we're making the best decision we can with the information we have. And we're working with our village staff who are, and our limited resources to make sure that we're making responsible decisions for the future and for managing our village operations with the talented team that we have now. So when I saw the 6B decision come up now, I went back to the 6B decisions that we've made in the past and looked at how we considered those in the past, and understood the information that we've had in the past, and how I considered those. So it's we're not in a ideal situation, and we as a village, and we have to make responsible decisions. But I appreciate the work that our teams are doing internally to help us make the best decisions we can. And I appreciate that we don't always have that our village staff are managing multiple projects and on multiple fronts. So we're going to always make the best decisions we can to move forward, and we and I feel okay with doing that. So I appreciate your the information that you're providing us, and I feel like given the information that we have made and decided on previously, with this with this type of decision, I feel good about where we are. Thanks. Yeah.
Shape the position and where you need to be as an organization. You need to get an investment out of us. Between the three of us, humbly and respectfully, we're all data analytics specialists, and so we would be happy to participate in giving you all the information based on our company, in terms of where you don't even have to do the work. We'll follow up with you and give you all the data that you need, and it can even be used as a template to help. That could be it would be something that we would be happy
We have
if that's our business.
We have very excellent teams in our village hall, but they're overworked, and they're doing excellent work supporting the operations of our village, and we appreciate partners that do excellent work in partnering with our village staff. Yeah.
Help you guys understand what we're doing.
Yeah.
Especially, but what we do would be help you other partners as well in 6B.
Yeah. Thank you.
I just wanted to make a comment here. One, my apologies. I did not include the application for you to review when I made the packet. So I will ensure that that happens going forward, so that you're provided the context as you're also, going forward with the resolutions. But I just wanted to, so that everybody knows, the process here. when we get a 6B application, it is reviewed internally by staff. And then we also have a team of experts. So we review with our legal team. And when needed, we also consult with our Ryan LLC, who is our TIF consultants when needed. We met the team, legal team, myself, met with the applicants via Zoom along with their attorneys and their consultants so that we could go through the application and understand what they were seeking. And then from there, the analysis takes place. We try to determine whether if the property sat vacant under just the normal property tax allowance, would the incentive that we provided to the applicant, even at the reduced tax rate, would it result in still increased taxes for the Village of Forest Park compared to if it sat vacant? And what improvements they're going to be making to the facility and what jobs they would be bringing to the community and what those jobs would bring to the area. Because we also look at, in this case, yes, there's 10 to 15 people that, are going to be new employees to Forest Park. Are those people also going to be eating in Forest Park, contributing to the retail tax dollars in Forest Park? And so just so that everybody is aware, those are analyses that do take place. I now understand that the council would like to also see, that information come to them. So going forward, we certainly can, make that happen. I spoke to Attorney Peppers prior to the meeting, and in my term, 2.5 years as village administrator, I've had 4 6B applications. One of them we did deny. It was a renewal that we did not feel was worth the renewal for it. 2 of them the council previously passed, and then there's one here today. We believe there was 1 6B that was approved prior to me becoming the village administrator. So, this is something that is somewhat relatively new to the council. I mean, you certainly have seen the most in our recollection. So I just wanted to point out that, this is a process that we do take seriously. We do analyze. Again, I will going forward make sure that you are have more of the details that we put in place in order to analyze this when you get the requests. So just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you, Administrator.
Can I ask one question to the administrator, please? Okay, so one thing in the email is in the audited financial report, this is what kind of confused me and I'm still confused about. It says here for the fiscal year ended April 30th, 2025, the village's share of the abatement granted to the Class 6B properties was approximately $52,000, right? So that's what it says in our audited financial statements. But then you said in an email that that's actually not true. It is not indicative of the village's share of the property taxes, but the total amount for the entire taxing district. So it says one thing here, but you're saying this report is not correct?
I spoke with Director Olmsted prior to that in regards to the question that you had emailed earlier, and that was the explanation that she gave to me. We used to have Kane McKenna, who is now Ryan LLC, do that number. That number is an unaudited number. It is a best guess estimate that she is able to put together for that. And she reported that that is the total for the taxing base, not necessarily just the Village of Forest Park. And again, it's an unaudited estimate.
Okay.
Mayor?
Commissioner Nero.
I mean, I want a chance. Everybody else got to go. I think it's a good opportunity. I'll tell you, Rachel, you nailed a bunch of points there. And I think looking back at this, of all the 6Bs that we've approved or had an opportunity to look at, I don't remember ever seeing the petitioners show up. I just don't. And so the fact that you're here speaks volumes about what you're trying to do. And I think it's a good thing for the Village of Forest Park. We have programs. We're a small, non-home rule community with, and we have these things like the 6B, right, classification, like TIF districts. Those are opportunities for us to attract new businesses into Forest Park, to make Forest Park easy to do business with. And so when the opportunity arises, it's incumbent upon us to leverage those. Now, that being said, look, we always could get better. I don't remember ever having any, at least this healthy of a discussion around a 6B before, but we're all getting better, right? And we're growing together and we're asking more questions, and that's great. That's healthy. But I think the fact that the property as it sits right now and what you are trying to accomplish with it moving forward is going to put, from a business standpoint, puts this property on the map. And by way of making those investments in the property brings more sales tax, property tax revenue to the Village of Forest Park. So it's a great opportunity for us. And just because we make a vote on it here tonight, it still has to go to Cook County for approval anyway. So there's still that aspect to it. But thank you for showing up. Appreciate it, and I appreciate the story. And I look forward to working with you guys here in the Village of Forest Park. That's it, Mayor. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Nero. All right, so I think everyone has asked their questions. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Mellon Ragovan,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt, Mayor Hoskins.
Aye.
This is Resolution R 3626.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, Commissioners, the next item is a resolution expressing official intent regarding certain expenditures to be reimbursed from a special tax allocation fund for and/or from proceeds of an obligation issued, if any, in connection with the proposed tax increment financing district, commonly referred to as the Franklin Street or Brown Avenue redevelopment project area. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Maxham. Is there a second?
Yes, sir. Nero will second.
Okay, it's seconded by Commissioner Nero. Discussion?
Yeah.
Commissioner Maxham.
I don't know if Administrator Entler would like to give some more information publicly about this. I had a lot of questions that did get answered for me. I felt like there wasn't as much, as I would have liked to see. And I don't know if any of the other commissioners had questions. One of the big ones that I had, for example, was where did that $5 million number come from? What is that? What was that? And I was told here in an email that it was the TIF team, including Attorney Brian Bow, just picked a number. There is no mathematical calculation. It was a number we felt comfortable with to help in containing pre-TIF establishment reimbursable costs, particularly with tax-exempt debt obligations. It also helps preserve the but-for testing for establishing a TIF. That's okay. I understand what that's saying, but I'm
Nick
still.
wants to speak to that a little bit. Nick will.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Good. Finish though.
No, I just, I guess I would like a little more than it was just a random number, and then also to follow up, and I don't know if you have this answer, we only have 2 months left, right? So it's 60 days prior. I think isn't that what the resolution says, that within 60 days prior to the resolution and 60 days following, the expenses have to be made?
Yeah, let's back up about what that number is, first of all. The resolution itself is to preserve the but-for test and the opportunity for the village to reimburse itself from expenses in the formation of the TIF, okay, which is a good thing for the village. Okay, so we need to understand that. The 5 million, in effect, is a high-ranging number. I've seen it as low as 1. I've seen it as high as 15, depending on the budget for the TIF, which needs to be worked on. I don't know what that budget is, but it's really meant to cover the rare opportunity where you form the TIF. Well, let's just say you form a TIF and you have a development project that you want to either buy land or you want to float a bond right that same day. You need to pass this for the IRS Treasury regulations to be able to do that and preserve the but-for test. This isn't an authorization to spend $5 million. You're not going to spend it. Even if you were to spend money, you'd have to authorize it anyway. It's really just a placeholder number in the event when you form the TIF, you've now preserved that ability to go, you know what, we're going to float a bond to help this development. It may never happen. That's why it says if any. And that's why it's got the 2 months before and the 2 months after from the passage. Because once it's after 2 months, if it's after, it's a TIF eligible expense. But you could be working on the bond now, paying bond counsel, expending all this money to then float a bond on the day that the TIF is formed. So you're preserving that ability to spend that much money on the date you form the TIF. It really there's no magic to that number. You can make it $1 million tonight if you want. And the second part is to preserve the ability to reimburse yourself from the cost of formation of the TIF, which, right now is just Ryan, I think. is the only expense that you will be incurring. It's not an expenditure. You're not spending $5 million on a project. There's no development in the winds. So it really is a belt and suspenders approach to the formation of the TIF. Does that help? Okay.
Maybe we can't really answer that.
So this TIF probably has a budget. I don't know whether you've worked that far through the budget. Yeah. So, when you pass a TIF, we're getting into the weeds here. You're supposed to create a budget. Land, environmental, pick whatever you want to pick. And then you pick some subset of that and you make that the maximum amount for the reimbursement if you want to choose to do so.
So then are we doing this in the right order? Like, should we already have the budget ideally before we?
I don't think you've had your hearing yet, so probably not. I mean, doing it now is tend to do this first. You can not do it now and wait 2 weeks, but you can wait if you want.
No, I just, I had a lot of questions and I wanted to make sure that I had the opportunity to ask them publicly. And then if the other commissioners also had questions, I wanted to make sure that everyone, as they should, feels free to ask those as well. So do we expect, so the example that was given to me is if a developer, steps forward and says, I'm interested in purchasing this and they purchase it, that by passing this right now today, that if we decided we were going to reimburse them through the TIF for the purchase price of, that they paid, we'd be able to do that if they bought it within the next 2 months.
If you're willing to float a bond to pay them that kind of money, because your TIF doesn't have any money in it.
Right. So that was the other question I had is when, like let's say we did that, right? And we then have to reimburse them. We don't, like you said, we don't have the money to reimburse them right now and wait for the TIF to pay us back because we don't have cash sitting around.
So first of all, you don't have to reimburse them. You would have a redevelopment agreement come to you first before we'd even have this discussion about how to do it. Floating bonds up front are frowned upon nowadays. Hardly anyone ever does that. We usually go pay as you go, meaning when the TIF increment is generated, then you might reimburse a developer. In the rare case, in the old days, if you wanted to help jumpstart development and float a bond and go, we're going to give you $5 million up front to help jumpstart the development, this protects that ability to do so. But you would have to have a redevelopment agreement to have that commitment. That would have to come back before you.
So then what's the point of doing this tonight then?
Is that IRS Treasury regulations? If you want to be able to avail yourself of that ability to make that commitment before the TIF is in place, 2 months before to 2 months after, you got to pass this inducement resolution.
Okay.
Now, if you want to go pay as you go and you want to ignore all this, which in 99%, you're probably going to ignore all this and not float them $5 million given your financial condition, right? You're going to do pay as you go if you get a developer. That's even if you get a developer. You don't even know who's going to be buying this property.
So should we do pay as you go and not do this tonight?
Well, we're getting into the weeds on that, but.
Well, I mean, I need guidance on this.
Well, once you
feel
know the project.
Kind of quick too, and I didn't have enough time to ask the questions that I wanted to ask. I
You
don't
don't
want
have
to, I don't want to float a bond at all. Like that is not something I think that they
Right.
do. So my preference would, under any circumstances, be pay as you go. And if we do pay as we go, if that means we don't need to pass this tonight, that would be my preference.
Why would you not pass it tonight to preserve the right to reimburse yourself?
But you said so wait.
Two things. Remember,
Okay.
reimburse yourself and the opportunity to float $5 million if you want to in expenditures up front. It's two things, not just one.
Okay. I get it.
Yeah, and you're not committing to spending $5 million tonight.
I hear you.
You're just reserving that ability, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Commissioners, any other questions?
I appreciate clearing some of this up. It was a little bit.
Look, the TIF Act is not easy. TIF Act is complicated. This is what our third TIF with you guys, I think. This is the process. And not knowing what your development's going to be, you are going to have every opportunity in the world to evaluate what this TIF may or may not be able to bring to the village. Believe me, you're not obligating yourself to do anything tonight that would put this village in any financial jeopardy, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, I apologize, Nick, if I seemed argumentative. I just, I had thank you for clearing this up for me. I just had a lot of questions. So if I seemed like I'm antagonistic, that's not my intent at all. I just am trying to understand the best step forward for us right now.
Well, given my experience with this village, let me just tell you, I would strongly recommend you pass this. And you're not putting yourself in any jeopardy financially with the 5 million number. Could that number have been 2.5 million? Absolutely. Could it have been 15 million? Yes. But, not knowing what the project is all about, it's kind of hard to, put a number on that right now.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions or discussion, commissioners? All right, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Mellon Ragoven,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt,
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye.
This is Resolution R 3726.
Okay, commissioners, next item is a resolution of the Village of Forest Park in support of the Illinois America 250 commemoration. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Mellon Ragoven. Is there a second? It's been seconded by Commissioner Vogt. Discussion? Okay, there's no discussion. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Maxim, Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Mellon Ragoven,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt,
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye.
This is Resolution R 38-26.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioners, the final item under new business this evening is simply a motion to appoint Caitlin Hofert to the Library Board for a term that expires in 2032. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Mellon Ragoven. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Vogt. Discussion.
Just one question. I don't,
Commissioner Vogt.
Caitlin is here by chance. I just like to thank folks for volunteering their time and serving on these boards. It's very important and we appreciate them for doing so. So thank you, Caitlin.
Indeed.
Right. Right. If there's no further discussion, then Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Maxim, Commissioner Nero, Commissioner Mellon Ragoven,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt,
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye. All right, commissioners, that concludes our new business for this evening. We're at Administrator's Report.
Just a couple announcements. I just wanted to let everybody know, the council already knows this. However, construction season has begun. Construction on Jackson Boulevard slated to start today. However, the weather was uncooperative. So plan on seeing more construction starting tomorrow. Hopefully, they are going to begin working from Harlem and work their way west. All the parties involved, as far as residents on Jackson Boulevard, will be getting notices if they haven't already. We've also coordinated with the school district and the library. We want to ensure that the construction that affects the school district is timed so that we don't offer too much disruption to the school, especially since we're going to be doing also lead service line replacement. Stage 3 for lead service line replacement is also beginning. Most of that will take place on the north side of town. And then lastly, the garbage transition. I just want to clarify that all residents will be picked up this Thursday. If you are south of Madison Street, you will be picked up by Republic. If you are north of Madison Street and typically have your garbage picked up on Friday, we are asking that you put your garbage out on Thursday, April 30th by 7 a.m. SBC will service you on Thursday, April 30th. And as always, if anybody has any questions in regards to that, there were welcome packets should have been received by residents. There is an email on there for you to contact customer service at SBC, or you can contact Village Hall as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Administrator. All right, now we're at Commissioner report. Commissioner Maxim.
Yes. Most of the public commenters are gone, but I really like it when people come out to express their views. I appreciate it. I appreciated it last meeting and I appreciate it again at this meeting. And, I know that staff is working to put together, the different possibilities that there are, and also looking into how we can, as a village, make some money off of the Airbnb. So I've been asking about that for a while and I'm waiting on some answers and I'm looking forward to getting that information. I want to thank Commissioner Nero and Director Glinke, who I think just left, for a really great town hall. And I'm not going to go into the details, but I thought it was very well attended and very informative. And it was a great chance for people to talk about the zoning amendments. And I thought it went really well. And lastly, I said at the last meeting I was going to share some information about our pensions, and I'm going to do that. I've been doing a lot of work on, getting information from the different pension boards and putting information together from our audited financial report and the actuary reports that that the pension boards have put together. And I think we all know that our two public safety pension funds, which are the police and fire, are in serious trouble right now. According to our own audited financial report for the fiscal year ended April 30th, 2025, our combined unfunded pension liability for these two funds together is just over $87 million. If we use different calculation methods, which is what the actuary reports do, and different assumptions, the number is slightly lower at $74 million, but that's still really high. And both the methods point to the same reality, and that's that these underfunded pension obligations are really, really big, to put it mildly. What makes that worse is the percentage of the total amount of, pension that we owe that we've already set aside. And that's really low on both of these funds. So depending on, which of the methods we're looking at, we're anywhere from the low 30s to the high 30s, but still under 40%. And under Illinois law, specifically the Illinois Pension Code, we have to be making annual contributions, so that's payments every year, such that will bring these funds to 90% funded by 2040. So another way sort of looking at it is saying that by 2040, we have to have these pensions 90% funded. So that means, if we're looking at the $87 million, we have to have 90% of that funded in 14 years. And the truth is we're not on track to do that. In at least a decade and probably longer, I don't have all the numbers, the village hasn't made our actuarially determined payment ever. And over the past 5 years, we've been getting better. The shortfall is smaller and smaller, which is really good. And that speaks to the work that our finance director, Director Olmstead, puts into putting as much money into these pensions funds as possible. But the truth is that we as a council and the council before us and the council before that have never really sat down and made an effort to come up with a way that we can substantially reduce this liability that we have. We didn't cause the problem. The problem was caused a long time ago by laws that were put in place in Illinois, but nobody in the history of our village has ever really made an effort to reduce this liability. And I think, we keep saying, oh, it's 2040, that's so far away, it's so far away, but it's not so far away anymore. And so we need to really be looking seriously at what we're going to do to fix this. And our own audited financial statement talks about how our property tax levy is below the actuarially, this is a quote, below the actuarially determined contribution for both police and fire funds. Efforts to increase revenues toward pension obligations divert this resource from general fund operations. This will continue to be the case until new revenue sources are recognized. These unfunded liability balances and the lack of reserve in the general fund are the foundation of the village's current credit rating, which is not good. And then both of the two actuary reports, the one from the police and the one from fire, say the same thing. And this is a quote: "There is considerable concern about the long-term sustainability of the plan." And then both those reports also go on to say, "Significant changes to the funding policy should be considered in order for the plan sponsor to have the ability to pay all future benefit obligations." So I'm raising this tonight because we do have the budget meetings coming up. And again, I think every decision we make has to be looked at in the context of what are we doing to fix this? This is the biggest problem that we face as a village. And if we don't do something to fix it now and soon, and by something, I mean as many small pieces as possible that are going to fit together to make a substantial difference, we are going to be looking at a future like Harvey, Illinois, where the state stepped in and intercepted their sales tax revenue in order to pay the pensions. And that's not speculative. I mean, it is speculative, but it actually has happened in other communities. And there are people who suggest that it could happen here. So I'm asking every resident in this room and every staff member in this room and everyone who hears this meeting to attend the village's first budget meeting, which is May 18th at 4 p.m. here at Village Hall in the lower level. Public comment is encouraged and everyone is welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Maxim. Commissioner Nero.
That's gonna be tough. I know, yeah. Nothing funny about that. It's a great report. I'll transition slightly. I'm kind of shocked. I will tell you that tonight was an eye-opener for me. We have had, and I'm going off book here a little bit, surprise. So there has never been the Airbnb, short-term rentals has not been on an agenda. Short-term rentals has not been brought up in a forum other than in the last couple of weeks through public comment. And yet, holy smokes, tonight we heard from so many residents that wrote in, showed up. Conversely, zoning has been on multiple public meetings through the PZC, up until which we had a town hall. And I have heard maybe a fraction of public comment on zoning. I guess zoning is just not that cool, right? I mean, Airbnb and short-term rentals hit you in the pocket and people want to show up. And I respect that. And I understand that, right? But at the same time, when we talk about zoning, that's our future, right? And so the segue there is like, I agree. I thought it was well attended, and I was very happy and thankful for the turnout that we had at the town hall. I appreciated Director Glinke's comments and the handful of residents, more than a handful. There was at least a handful of residents that gave public comment and their opinion, and that's what that is. It's all about. So I appreciated that as well. On a secondary note, we are making progress with our planner in the Village of Forest Park. We've 4 interviews were had with potential candidates, and I think we're getting close to landing the plane with that, which is exciting. That's a path forward for Forest Park, especially with the opportunities that are in front of us. That's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Nero. Commissioner Mellon Rogovan.
Great. Thank you very much. A lot going on and a lot of important things to focus on. I also wanted to thank everybody here for their public comments. I often tell residents and my fellow commissioners how much I appreciate folks who participate in public comments. It's an important time for me as a commissioner to hear what is bubbling up and important for village residents, and I take public comment very seriously. And I reflect on it, and it helps me make better decisions as someone who votes and considers what is important to residents in the village. A lot of things happening. I wanted to report on a few things that I've been working on. I did meet with Housing Forward recently to engage with the leadership of Housing Forward on behalf of our village and our first responders to increase, and our library to increase the presence of the street outreach program in Forest Park. There's been a lot of funding vacillation for Housing Forward, but that's been fixed or straightened out. And so I worked with Housing Forward to talk about how there could be more presence for their street outreach program in Forest Park, both at the library, at the CTA, and on Madison Street, so that we could be providing, Housing Forward could be providing a visible presence for business owners and areas around Forest Park that our unhoused neighbors are often seen and present. And that's been especially felt by our library. So I just wanted to say that that's been helpful. Wanted to thank everyone who's come out to, who came out to Earth Day, the Recycled Art Fair reception at, we did a Earth Day art show at 7410 Madison, was very successful. And we had a very nice Earth Day art show with a great turnout to promote the reuse aspect of recycling. And I think it was very well attended, and it's going to be something we do again. We've been asked to do that in the future. And I enjoyed participating in Arbor Day. That was a wonderful event. And I did spend a couple of days in Springfield in the middle of the month. I especially appreciated meeting the Attorney General, where I thanked the Attorney General's office for providing support to Forest Park when we had some questions about funding for police and fire equipment and how they were helpful with that. And we're getting ready to go to Springfield again, and I look forward to helping to advocate for police and fire funding and transit funding with some of my colleagues. There's some legislation that will help us hopefully increase recruiting and have support transit funding and CTA funding that will help for revenue for the village. So looking forward to that. And yeah, so that's a couple of highlights that we've been working on. So yeah, I'll end there.
Thank you, Commissioner Mellon Rogovan. Commissioner Vogt.
Thanks. First off, heck of a first meeting for Clerk Taylor. You got thrown right in there. You had a lot of public comment to read, and you did a great job. So I just wanted to say, to acknowledge that. And then I want to thank everybody, echo some of my fellow commissioners. Thank you for your public comment tonight, for writing in. And this has been a long meeting, so I also appreciate those of you that have stuck it out till the end. So thank you for staying with us. I have a little bit to cover, but I will try to be quick. Commissioner Mellon Rogovan's Earth Day Recycled Art exhibit was great. I loved how creative everyone was and appreciate her efforts to raise awareness through projects that are engaging and encourage creativity. So that was a lovely event. And then Arbor Day was fantastic. We were so happy to have some D91 students join us. And I really appreciate Rochelle Ernst, the Director of Special Engagement, for her help organizing their participation. And I want to thank the library and Alicia Hammond for hosting the Arbor Day Interactive Tree this year. It was full of hand-decorated leaves by folks in our community, and Director Stella has been saving these leaves every year. He's not here today, but so the rec board is working on ideas for ways the village might make a collection or display them long-term. So that'll be cute. And then I want to thank Jeff Binns-Calvi and Amy Binns for their continued support of Arbor Day. Jeff made the interactive tree a few years ago, and he has a very quick way to cut out the leaf shapes for the kids to decorate. So he cut out a new batch of those this year. So thanks, Jeff. And then I just want to thank everyone who came out, including Mayor Hoskins, Commissioner Mellon Rogovan, Megan Roach, Rec Board members, Uli Lieb, Kate Linney, Megan Hunt, and former member and chair, Amy Binns-Kelvey. And a big thank you to Public Works in South Stella. His work following our urban forest management plan and staff's work to manage and care for our village-owned trees is so appreciated, and why our urban forest is doing so well. It's a huge investment of time, resources, including many grants, to make sure our village-owned trees thrive for generations to come. So I want to highlight that and thank you. Our spring cleanup is Saturday, May 16th. The village has posted the flyer and registration link. We are delighted to have U3 Coffee as a sponsor again this year. Their coffee is delicious, and the pick-me-up is perfect on an early Saturday morning. So our volunteers appreciate that, and we hope you all will join us. And then lastly, I want to thank Commissioner Nero for hosting the town hall to discuss his department's recommended zoning changes. And I also want to thank everyone who attended the meeting and provided feedback. It was a great turnout, and that indicates an interest in the topic and public desire for more information. I appreciated hearing all of the different reasons folks were there and the questions and comments from the audience. While it was great to finally hear from residents, I was disappointed that the first 50 minutes or so of the meeting was largely the same anecdotal information and storytelling we have heard for the past year and a half. It was said that these recommendations came directly from the professionals who work with the village, but as one resident pointed out, the engineers, lawyers, and consultants who supposedly drafted them were not in attendance to provide insight or answers. I appreciate personal stories and experience, but I have also requested the information that was used in the data that supports making these dramatic changes to the zoning code. Information that shows the potential impact or lack thereof to the community. We're simply told that the changes will have no impact. Non-answers are insufficient, and anecdotes are not data. The village has spent over $62,000 at least on just a portion of the zoning code. Because the few questions I had were not answered and the information I requested has not been provided, I would like to know how that money was spent. It apparently wasn't spent on an audit of the code, on collecting data specific to Forest Park and analyzing it, on environmental studies, market feasibility, housing needs, impact studies on economic development, traffic, infrastructure, because despite my requests, none of that has been provided. How was this money spent? What information was used to inform these recommendations? And to be clear, I'm not implying anything untoward. As elected officials, we have a fiduciary duty to the taxpayer. And it's a fair question because for some reason, the project started without the village council approving a contract, and the information we need has not been provided. I don't want this to continue. The process isn't working, and we need to stop the bleeding. We need to look forward. Forest Parks Code does need to be updated, but the village can't afford to continue its let's just try approach to policymaking. Saying, hey, if it doesn't work, you can fix it later has proven costly. Let's work together to formulate a transparent, thorough process that embraces informed decision-making and accountability. I propose the village focus on updating the comprehensive plan. This ticks a lot of boxes. It can collect a lot of data and community input that would also be utilized to update the zoning code. Zoning must align with the comp plan. The proposed changes as written do not. This can lead to unintended consequences, including legal challenges. There will be a new village council next year. Having a fresh, updated comp plan gives the new council momentum and a modern framework to move the village forward. Contrary to what was said at the zoning town hall, comp plans are still very much in use and helpful to municipalities. They inform zoning changes, prevent legal challenges, and provide community goals and long-term plans. And having a comp plan or equivalent is often a requirement in grant applications. Going forward, the process for a comp plan or for large-scale code updates needs to be clearly defined and approved by the council before work begins. Tight finances or budget constraints are exactly why something like this should be clearly defined at the beginning. There should be an RFP or council-approved contract that clearly outlines scope of work, objectives, deliverables, and a not-to-exceed clause, and includes robust community engagement and input. I read a quote that process, which is a mere gesture, is not due process. And community engagement isn't just a box to tick. If you're not seeing real engagement, you're not doing your job to get the word out. Look, I've shared my questions, concerns, and suggestions for some time now, and I hope we can work together to course correct. A comprehensive plan update makes the most sense. This leads the village on the right path to making sensible zoning updates informed by data, local studies, community input, and long-term goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Vogt. Commissioners, you already heard Commissioner Mellon Rogovan say that some of us are going to Springfield tomorrow or Wednesday. I'm going tomorrow. This is for the Illinois Municipal League drive down. And my sole objective is to have follow-up discussions with stakeholders to preserve our rights and revenue generated as a result of the transit consolidation. So there was talk of a trailer bill, and I wanted to see how we're going to implement the billing and collection processes that I think are intended to benefit both police and fire in this community, as well as Oak Park, River Forest, and Rosemont. So we have at least one meeting lined up with Senator Harmon, and I'm working on another one with the deputy governor who's in charge of the transportation department. So having said that, I will end, and the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Yes, sir. Nero will make that motion.
It's been moved by Commissioner Nero. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's seconded by Commissioner Maxim. Deputy Clerk, or Madam Clerk, excuse me.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero.
Aye.
Commissioner Mellon Rogovan,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye. We stand adjourned.
We have to give back the garbage cans. I want the. That was facetious. What?